Your old identity is hanging on for dear life, but there is a new identity that is so excited for you to step into that new journey and know that that exists, right? And the more you fight and try to hold on and stay at the side of the pool, the harder that fight is going to be.
Welcome to the Thriving After Divorce podcast, where you learn the secrets to reclaim your life and turn your breakup into your breakthrough. Transformation expert, internationally published author, and online show host Tanya Marie Dubé will help you quickly pick up and move on as you tune into interviews with some pretty cool experts from around the world, showing you how to live your best life after divorce. If you're ready to learn the skills to finally put your divorce behind you for good, dig down really deep, and step into your highest self, then you're in the right place. Here's your host, online educator and mom of two, Tanya Marie Dubé.
Hi, everybody. It's Monday and we are back. I want to quickly remind you to please like, comment, subscribe, share, and review this podcast. With my online video series, we reached over 300,000 women all over the world. And my goal with this podcast is to reach 1 million women globally. So with your help, I know we can do this. When you teach a woman, you teach an entire community and the love just spreads. So please share this with your community and let's reach this goal together. Today's episode is with my friend Kelsey Matheson. She is a wonderful, wonderful woman. She's an entrepreneur, coach, and speaker based in Brooklyn, New York. She is the co-founder and owner of Anamaya Resort and Retreat Center, which is a yoga retreat center in Costa Rica. And she's the co-founder and owner of Be Outfitter, a backpack and outdoor gear company that helps provide children around the world with an education. Kelsey also is the creator of the Optimal Health and Conscious Living Academy, an 8-week online course for women focusing on the most misdiagnosed and misunderstood areas of women's health. After experiencing success and hardships involved with building businesses, becoming a mother, and learning what it really takes to be present, healthy, and happy, Kelsey is now a success coach for women, transforming lives and empowering women to get out of their own way and embrace their magnificence in order for them to create the life they were truly born to live. So in this episode, Kelsey shares her journey with us about a time in her life when she was struggling with adrenal fatigue and how it almost tore her entire world apart. She changed her entire life and rebuilt her life from the ground up with a power that has propelled her to help women all over the world change their lives by addressing their emotional, physical, and mental health. We all go through so much stress when we are going through a divorce, and that stress can knock your body out of whack. So this is an interview you don't want to miss. So let's welcome Kelsey. Hi, Kelsey. How are you today? I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So let's just jump right in. You ready?
That sounds good.
So I wanted to get started with who you are and who you serve.
Right. So I'm Kelsey Matheson. I'm a serial entrepreneur and a success coach for women mostly. I do work with some men, but my mission is to help women. I own a yoga retreat center called Anamaya Resort in Costa Rica, and a backpack company that helps to put children around the world through school. And I'm also the founder and creator of the Optimal Health and Conscious Living Academy that allows women to finally understand the most misdiagnosed and misunderstood areas of women's health in order to really take charge of their health and their wellness and feel better than they ever have. So I also have a 30-day meditation series for women that helps them achieve their goals. And like I mentioned, I'm a success coach. So I have group coaching programs and I also do one-on-one coaching. But I mainly serve women. Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so we're totally in alignment with that.
Yeah.
I'm the same with the work that I do. I mainly serve women, and I found for myself personally, the work that I do, it's because there was nobody really representing women in what I do. Not for this area, not the way that there should be. So like you, I have this deep need for, being the advocate for women in this space.
Yeah, absolutely. I love working with women. I love empowering women, really, and supporting them in living the life they were born to live. Because I agree with you. There is definitely a gap in society today, in society today, in terms of that kind of support.
Oh my gosh. And it's everywhere. It seems to go across every single industry and every single space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is wonderful. Oh my gosh, you've got so much stuff going on. I've got so many questions for you. So now we've spent some time together. And so I know your story. It's extremely fascinating to me. And it's literally what got you into this line of work. So did you want to share that with us?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I started off, I did go to business school after high school, but then I was an actor and a dancer for many years. And then I met my husband and I kind of got out of the industry. And then about 9 years ago, actually to the day, I had my daughter Maya. And that was in 2009. And 1 month after Maya was born, I opened Anna Meyer Resort, which was my first business. And so for any moms who are listening, you know what that first year is like as a new mom.
Yes.
And for any entrepreneurs listening, you know how much blood, sweat, and tears go into your business, especially that first year. And I was doing them simultaneously.
Wow.
And let me tell you, I really don't recommend doing that.
I'll bet because becoming an entrepreneur and running a business is kind of like birthing. It's not like birthing a baby, but you know what I mean? It takes so much of your attention and your focus. It is like birthing a baby almost, isn't it?
Yeah. It's almost like I had twins in a way. And so
with very different needs.
Yes, I had, similar, Anna Maya and Maya. So there you go.
There you go.
So essentially what happened was I ran myself into the ground trying to manage all of that. And I really didn't give myself a chance to recover. So I was in chronic fight, flight, and freeze. Basically my sympathetic nervous system was in overdrive, which totally messed up my hormones, which they hadn't even stabilized, after having my daughter. Mm-hmm. And so I was miserable. And initially after I had her, I lost a ton of weight and I thought, oh, this has to do with the breastfeeding. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. Mm-hmm. And then it seemed like overnight I ended up gaining a ton of weight, and I had no sex drive, and I was really disgusted with my body, and I felt disconnected from my friends and my family, but I also felt like I was disconnected from myself. Mm-hmm. Like things were not good. So what I did was I ended up going to my family doctor, and unfortunately, conventional doctors are not, many of them are not trained to do much investigating anymore. Like it's an art form that has been lost in conventional medicine. So my family doctor told me that my blood work looked fine and said that I could, take an antidepressant if I wanted to. And that just didn't sit well with me. I knew something was really going on and something was wrong. And I didn't personally want a Band-Aid, and I was determined to figure it out. And I say that, but I also want to be really clear, because I have had friends and family members who have used antidepressants very successfully based on their, individual situation. But for me, I felt like there was a much bigger issue going on, and an antidepressant really wasn't the answer for me at that time. Mm-hmm. So kind of long story short, I ended up partnering with integrative doctors, naturopaths, chiropractors, acupuncturists, sexologists, and many other health practitioners who really helped save my life and my relationship and helped me feel really better than I ever have in many, many ways. And so out of that, I knew I had a responsibility to create a program for other women who were suffering as well, and who also felt that they had no one to go to, for women who felt lost. And so out of that came my academy, the Optimal Health and Conscious Living Academy.
Wow. Well, they say necessity is the mother of all invention. Yes. And I really do always talk about this for everybody. There is, for all of the people who are listening, all of the women who are going through this right now and who have a dream and don't know how to get to it, whatever keeps showing up for you in your life over and over again, or something massive that you've had to go through, this is information that somebody else needs, and guarantee there's going to be more than one person who needs it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I found that many of my friends were suffering in silence as well. And when I started to talk about it, they were like, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one.
Yeah. Why do we do that as women? We always think we're the only ones, and we're not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, partially it's societal pressures. We're supposed to be super moms. We're supposed to be, badasses in our careers. We're supposed to have rockin' bodies. We're supposed to have a Pinterest perfect home, and then swing from the chandeliers in the bedroom. And I think, we don't want to, intellectually, we don't want to buy into that. But I think there is a part of us, because we've grown up, with those kinds of messages, and we feel like we do have to.
We have to keep up with the Joneses.
Live up to that. Yeah.
Wow. Now, I want to get into what it means to be a success coach.
Sure. So for me, it's really about getting out of your own way. And I get in my own way, and I consider myself a master coach at my level that I'm at now, but I get in my own way. Like every time we go through a challenge, every time we experience hardship or we have to take a risk, we have an old identity and a new identity. And the old identity is really comfortable where it is. And the new identity is like, no. Let's step outside this comfort zone. Let's, the safety zone. Let's leave it. And then there's a bit of a tug of war happening between your old identity and your new identity. And so I like to use the analogy of a little girl who's at the edge of a pool and she's going to jump in, but she's terrified. And the old identity is like, we're totally safe up here, girl. What are you thinking? You're going to jump into the water and drown? We don't know. We don't know what we're doing. We've never done that before. We're safe up here. We can see everybody. We're warm. Everything's fine up here. And the new identity is like, oh my God, this is going to be the best thing in the world. Right? It's just like, jump in, come on. And, we'll be with the big kids and, we'll know how it feels like to go under the water and then come up and like, oh, it'll cool us down. And this is going to be the best thing in the world. And what happens is that old identity and that new identity have a tug of war, a massive tug of war. And the larger the challenge or the bigger the risk, the longer that tug of war can go on. And so what I do is, and here I should also say that as soon as that little girl's feet leave the platform, before she even touches the water, that old identity has essentially died because she will never, ever be the girl who didn't jump into the pool ever again. And so every cell, on a scientific level, every cell in our body is programmed to survive and keep us safe. So what I do as a success coach is we take a look at that, your old identity and where your new identity wants to take you, how you're getting in your own way, how your fears or how ego or, the stories you tell yourself are getting in your way of stepping outside that comfort zone and releasing that old identity and really embracing the new one.
I absolutely love that. I love that analogy. That's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I use it a lot because we can all relate, but it also allows us to go, oh, is that why I'm procrastinating? Is that why I'm telling myself that, all of these stories? Is that's what's going on? And also because I'm safe here. Sure, I'm safe in this situation. Even if the situation seems challenging or like, you're having financial struggles and you're like, I don't feel safe here. There's something about it that does feel safe because in terms of stepping outside of that, there needs to be change. And that's difficult.
Wow, this is fantastic. You know what this makes me think of? Now, did you know that I was an actor too? I was an actor. I did 14 years of theater on and off here in Canada. And then I did 5 years here in Toronto of some film work.
No kidding.
I did. And I've always said that I think it would be beneficial. I used to say, I wish everybody could be a bartender for a year.
Right.
Because we really get to understand the human condition in that space. But more than that, everybody should have to take acting classes.
Totally.
Right? Like so much of what you've just said, I know that we've both learned through our careers as actors. And getting out of your own way is such a huge thing.
So huge.
Before you actually get to spend time with that idea, you don't realize how much we sabotage ourselves, how much we anticipate failure before it even happens. We worry about things that aren't even existing yet.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah, and actually a friend of mine who's a lawyer ended up taking acting lessons just because he knew it would help him in the courtroom, really to embrace his greatness in the courtroom and things like that. And, I love that idea. I think that's great.
Wow, you sound like such a fantastic coach. I love that. I love that you understand the old identity and the new identity because that really does happen. That is really essential when you're creating goals for yourself and stepping into a new space, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so now you know that this is a podcast about thriving after divorce, but I really, like to get to the bottom of everything to do with divorce and getting through it. And it's really about surviving adversity, isn't it? So Now I know that you've come out of something scary with your health. We talked about that a little bit. Now the 8-week health course that you have, I love the idea of this. Is it still available?
Yes, absolutely. So the Optimal Health and Conscious Living Academy is an online 8-week interactive course for women. So it's not like, okay, it's an online course where you have to do all the work yourself. We were talked about women who feel like they don't have support, or if they feel alone. This is an interactive course. A lot of material is online, but you will work directly with me, and you will connect with all of the other women who have gone through the program who feel exactly the same way that you do. So it's really a program for women to transform their lives, reach their potential, and then look and feel and be the best that they can. And it's really important that women understand that their journey to optimal health is going to be very different from mine or from yours or from their best friends. There is no one size fits all. So within the course, each week is dedicated to a different area of women's health. And we cover the mind and the body because they are intimately connected. And you can't have a healthy body if you have an unhealthy mindset. So we do cover hormone imbalance and food intolerances, weight gain, and the real reasons for it, right? And the proper way to exercise depending on what's going on with your body. Because again, it's not always about calories in versus calories out. If you're suffering from adrenal fatigue, for example, or if you're not getting enough sleep, your body will hold on to extra pounds. So some women I know were working out like fiends, for example, and they were still gaining weight, right?
I've been through that. I do understand that. That's a frustrating process.
It's so frustrating. And so, but once we discover that their adrenal glands were shot, right? We needed to drastically shift their exercise regime and a number of other things in order for their body to start recovering and healing. And then once you get more oxygen into your cells, you are getting more sleep, you're figuring out the right exercise regime for you, and you're finding out what foods you might have intolerances or sensitivities to, then your metabolism will boost, but your body will feel like, okay, I'm not, the parasympathetic nervous system will kick into gear, which is your rest, digest, and recover, and you'll start to heal as well as lose weight if that's your goal.
Wow. So I love all of that, because the truth of the matter is that without this vehicle working properly, nothing's happening.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And the members also have access to a private Facebook group, so they can connect to the other women who are going through the course or have already gone through it. And, so they can support each other in a sacred space, because, we talked about this. Many women feel they're alone while they're going through these issues. And also because they tried what, their sister did, but it didn't work for them, or they tried what their best friend did and it didn't work for them. And that's super frustrating.
Yeah.
And then they also are able to have weekly coaching sessions with me one-on-one. And truthfully, I think I might be changing that to weekly group coaching instead of one-on-one. But right now it's still one-on-one. And so they get to work with me. Yeah.
One of the best things I think too about community, when, especially when we're first getting into the space and we're feeling it out and it's new for us and we're finally taking control over our lives this way, is that the community is not just a place for us to go to hang out and to feel safe, but it's also a place for us to show up for other people. So I really like to encourage people when they're inside of a community like this to remember that you not showing up that day means you're also not showing up for others who need you.
That's right.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Well done. This is amazing. I love that course.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now I wanted to get a little bit into your own personal stuff. And please feel free to share whatever you like and as much of it as you want. But what would you say was your absolute lowest point in the reinvention of yourself? And what are the steps that you took to climb out of it and create what you've built up today?
Yeah. So, on my worst days when I was, when I felt like I was suffering in silence, like I didn't even really share what was going on with my husband, maybe little bits here and there, but I think there was just so much shame around it. Again, and I was, I think, buying into those societal pressures of I have to be a super mom and, build this, successful business. And so on my worst days, I would be literally curled up kind of in a fetal position at my desk in my home office, just crying uncontrollably. Like the emotions were just flooding and flooding and flooding and, almost like just kind of on the verge of a panic attack. And I would start thinking, what, my family would just be better off without me.
Oh.
And it was terrifying to have those kinds of thoughts. And it was also not like me at all, right? Like, it's just not part of my personality. For anyone who knows me, I'm typically very optimistic. I mean, you can hear from my voice, I'm very energetic, right? Yeah. I'm usually very full of life. But I did feel at that time, because I just wasn't myself, that I was circling the drain, and I just didn't know how to get myself out of it. And so one day in particular, I started having some, those dark thoughts again. And I thought about the history in my family of depression, of addiction, and suicide. And I was like, okay, this is not good. There's something, I know my body, there's something going on. And so just thinking about that put a fire under my butt to try and figure out what was going on. So like I mentioned, though, I went to my family doctor and I felt that I couldn't really get the support that I needed from her. So my therapist at the time, because this is the other thing, I was so crazy busy with the baby and raising starting the business, I stopped going to see my therapist. I highly recommend having a therapist, right? Having a coach and having a therapist. So I started going back to my therapist, and she recommended I see an integrative doctor. And so I did. I went to this integrative doctor. This doctor did my blood work, which I'll remind you is the exact same blood work that my doctor basically had, because this was they were taken not too far apart. I think weeks apart from each other.
Okay.
She had me answer a bunch of questions. We had a really long, in-depth conversation. I filled out questionnaires. You see, she was doing the investigative work that I believe many conventional doctors just don't practice, or at least not in the same way.
Yeah. Okay. And she needed to go in such depth with you because you knew something was wrong. This is part of the healthcare system that I don't like. I don't like the idea that we are discouraged from listening to our own bodies, because who knows you better than you?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And again, I want to mention that I feel like there's going to be doctors out there that are going to be sending me mail. What do you think you're talking about? But
well, they'll know. They'll know.
And I'm not against conventional medicine really in any way, and I'm generalizing, but I do think it's important for women to know that that if they're not feeling supported, then there are other options.
Yes, absolutely.
So basically, my integrative doctor diagnosed me with hypothyroidism.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, what's that? So I started researching that. And then I started seeing a naturopath, and we discovered that my adrenal glands had totally flatlined, She looked at me and she's like, this is bad. And I was basically suffering from an extreme case of adrenal fatigue. I had no idea. I didn't even really know what that was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So slowly, they would put me on a protocol. And this is the other thing, is that I would tell my integrative doctor and share with her the results I would get from my naturopath, and vice versa. So they didn't work together in the same office. They were in separate offices, but because I would share with them the information, they would use that. Right. And they would work together essentially kind of remotely through me. Wow. And so I slowly started to feel like myself again. Like I felt like my brain, like I was in such a fog, like my brain fog kind of lifted. And I was, it started to feel more like myself. Things started to become clearer. I wasn't as much of, an emotional basket case is how I kind of felt. And so I continued on the journey that most women truthfully can't do. And I wouldn't want them to do, right? Which is why I created the Optimal Health and Conscious Living Academy, because I spent thousands of dollars on consultations. I went to, seminars, and I tried supplements, and I tried this, I tried that. I listened to this expert or that expert, or I tried this program or that program. And there was, in fact, a lot of trial and error to get to the point that I felt like I really needed to create something that would support other women in this situation, or at least guide them to finding the support that they needed. And that's how the Academy came to be.
Wow. I absolutely love that. So you're just going to make this really simple and easy for people who are going through this and feeling, probably at their worst, especially when they're coming out of a divorce, and need to look at other things and not just their emotional health, right?
Absolutely. Especially when you're coming out of a divorce, you are in fight, flight or freeze chronically, which will have an impact, on your sleep, which will have an impact on your thyroid, on your adrenals, on your hormones, on your cortisol. And you will get to the point where you will suffer from burnout as well. And so it's easily digestible. You don't have to go and spend thousands of dollars in the trial and error, which truthfully kind of ends up causing more stress and frustration. One of my clients said that watching the videos, there's a video series every week. You're given about maybe anywhere from 4 to 7 little videos. And she said they're like little TED Talks, and it's totally digestible. And once you sign up, you also have lifetime access. So some of my clients, the first time they went through, they were just focused on hormone health. And then they went back again and, would redo the week, say, on food sensitivities and intolerances or something like that.
Wow, wow, wow. This is fantastic. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to go do a little walkthrough.
Yeah.
I think this is wonderful for women. What a great thing that you've done here. Okay. So now we've touched a little bit on some advice that you can give, but for people who are listening, who are going through hell and back or who have gone through hell and back and know that they are really here for something more, do you have any other advice you would like to give?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the phrase, "this too shall pass," is one that I say to myself many times, because I get myself worked up and I'm like, okay, this too shall pass. And I'd like you to think about your challenges in this way. Like the example I gave with the little girl, your old identity is hanging on for dear life, but there is a new identity that is so excited for you to step into that new journey and know that that exists. Right. And the more you fight and try to hold on and stay at the side of the pool, the harder that fight is going to be. And also to know that with any challenge, there are lessons to be learned. And once we learn those lessons, we heal old wounds, we heal old pain, we step a little closer into embracing, right, that new identity, into embracing your magnificence. And the larger the risk or the challenge, right, the harder that tug of war is going to be. But when you are conscious of it, then you can take the steps to kind of move forward. I mean, I believe that we are on this planet for a reason, every single one of us. Mm-hmm. And I also believe that everything happens to us for a reason. I never thought that before. I hadn't thought of, in my 20s, I didn't think that way.
That's really funny that you say that. I was exactly the same way. I didn't think that way, but I also am now understanding the importance of timing.
Yes.
I remember seeing something on Oprah once, and she was talking about how, God will show you when you're making mistakes. Like you'll get like a little push.
Yeah.
And then you'll get like a little knock on the head. And if you still don't pay attention to these things, that's when the big thing comes. And for me, the big thing was my divorce.
Right.
That was the big thing. I had been ignoring so much for so long. So the timing of everything is very relevant.
Absolutely. And if you hear the whisper the first time and you can learn that lesson, great. But if you don't, then it will keep happening and it will keep happening. And like you said, and then there'll be a big crisis and then it's screaming at you to listen and you have nothing else to do but learn the lesson.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Right.
And I love what you just said about the harder you hold on to your old identity, the harder it will be. That is so true.
Yeah. The harder, because then, I mean, if you imagine embracing that new journey, embracing your new identity, embracing your magnificence, like every single one of us has a greatness and a magnificence to our identity, to our soul, especially for us women. We have such a hard time embracing that and really owning it.
Oh my gosh, isn't that so true? It's so true. And we both have daughters, and I'm pretty sure that you probably have this conversation with your daughter as well. And I do it with my son, but we're going to talk about daughters.
Yeah.
I tell her the importance of understanding her value and not undermining that or dumbing that down for anybody, because there's a really big difference between talking trash or whatever, and also just knowing your magnificence and living inside of that space.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, and knowing that any challenges we go through are there to help us grow and are there to help us become who we're meant to be on this planet, in this moment. They're there for a reason. I like to talk to, when I work with my clients, I like to call it feedback from the universe. You can get feedback from people. And if you're the type of person who gets their back up or gets a little uncomfortable or tries to, argue or be right or, prove that the other person is wrong, that's a block, right? That's an avoidance of listening to somebody's feedback of, okay, is there something I can learn in this? Is there a lesson here to be had? But, the universe provides us with feedback as well. Like if you look at your bank account and it's not the way you want it to be, that's feedback. Right. And if somebody is treating you in a certain way, that's feedback. Right. So, and all that is there, it's there for us to learn. It's there for us to grow. It's there for us to become our higher self if we choose to learn from it.
Mm-hmm. Mindfulness and awareness. And awareness. Yeah, for sure. So now let's jump into your free gift. You have something amazing to give everybody.
I do. I'm very excited to offer your listeners free access to my 30-day meditation success series. So if your day is a blur of busyness, or if self-care and me time feels totally out of reach, or if you have goals and you want to achieve them, but you feel like you're kind of constantly in the hamster wheel, then this is a really powerful series that will help you focus your mind and kind of clear out the mental toxicity that builds up, and it reduces anxiety, increases your clarity as well as your energy levels, and it essentially helps you to reach the goals that you've laid out for yourself. So
and now for anybody who doesn't know how to do meditation, do you have any advice about best times of day to do it?
So for me, I love meditating in the beginning of the day, the first thing of the day. I like exercising and doing my meditation to start my day, and I feel like it just sets my day off in such a great way. I'm in a great state. I'm more positive. I have more focus, and I know that the days that I don't do it, I'm a little more scattered. I just don't feel as well. I might be a little more tired. And I've incorporated many different maybe meditation. So if you're not that familiar with it, you can try a bunch of different styles and then go back to your favorites. And also it's not, as for somebody who hasn't done it, it's not that intimidating. It's really just about quieting your mind. There's many guided meditations. So it's just about listening to my voice or the music, and quieting the mind, relaxing the body, and it sounds so simple, but you'll be amazed at the results.
I love that. And the benefits, right? I remember when the very first time I ever tried to do meditation, I couldn't calm my mind. I'm a very go kind of person. And I've had to learn to slow it down. But one of the best pieces of advice I got was don't try to control yourself or don't try to control what's going on. And if a thought comes in that's bothering you or taking your attention, just push it out. You'll deal with it later.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, and it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It just means that it takes practice. It's called a meditation practice, right? So we practice. Some days I can't quiet my mind. And it's also not necessarily about quieting your mind so that absolutely no thoughts surface. Mm-hmm. You just will notice them, and then you'll gently release them. And it's also just a way for you to learn how to not stress over those things when they pop up.
Mm-hmm. I want everybody to know that this is, I think it's an amazing gift, and thank you so much. This is very generous. I understand that this is a $250 value that everybody's getting by looking into the show notes and clicking on the link, and you'll have access to the 30-day success series, meditation series. So thank you so much for that, Kelsey.
Yeah, my pleasure. I'm excited. I'm excited to be here, but I'm also excited to share that, because the benefits of meditation are huge.
I can't even, bigger than I ever thought they would be.
Yeah.
Well, this is so amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to have you and to share this space with you. And, thank you so much for bringing your A game. I think this is fantastic, and everybody got to learn so much from you today. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure being here, and I'm so grateful that we connected.
Oh, I know. Me too. Don't you love this world? Everybody is so open to helping with everybody. I love it. So thank you to everybody for listening. You're listening to Thriving After Divorce Radio. I am your host, Tanya Marie Dubé. If you like this interview and you feel like there's somebody in your life who could benefit from it, please feel free to share and to like and review and subscribe. Everybody, thanks again. Thanks again, Kelsey. And I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you again so much for joining us on the Thriving After Divorce Radio podcast. We're coming to you every Monday morning so that you can start your week with intention and some powerful advice for what you're dealing with. So please subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends and your family. My goal is to help change 1 million lives with this work, because when you teach a woman, you teach an entire community. Everybody benefits and the love spreads. So please feel free to comment, review, share, and like. With your help, I know I can reach this goal. So have a beautiful day, and we will see you next week.